The excavation, the ancient burial ground stretched beneath Maya's boots like a graveyard of civilizations, each layer revealing secrets that governments would kill to keep buried. She knelt in the mud, her archaeologist's hands trembling as they brushed centuries of dirt from what looked like a crystalline artifact, pulsing with an inner light that shouldn't exist. "You're trespassing on restricted land." The voice cut through the rain like a blade. Maya spun around, her headlamp catching the silhouette of a man in tactical gear, his rifle trained on her chest. Water dripped from his dark hair, and his eyes held the hollow look of someone who'd seen too much death. "I have permits," she said, slowly reaching for her jacket pocket. "Don't." His finger moved to the trigger. "Corporate permits don't mean shit down here. This site is classified military." Maya's heart hammered against her ribs. She'd spent 3 years tracking down this location, following fragments of her father's research notes after his suspicious death. The artifact in her hands seemed to pulse faster, matching her racing pulse. "My father died trying to expose what's buried here," she said, her voice steady despite the gun pointed at her. "Alexander Reeves. Maybe you knew him." Something flickered across the soldier's face. Recognition, pain. His grip on the weapon faltered for just a moment. "Alex was your father?" The rain intensified, turning the excavation site into a muddy hellscape. Lightning illuminated the man's scarred features, and Maya saw something broken behind his eyes. "He never mentioned a daughter," he said quietly. "He never mentioned having a partner who'd put a bullet in his back either." The accusation hung between them like a loaded weapon. The soldier's jaw tightened, and for a terrifying moment, Maya thought she'd pushed too far. "My name is Caleb Torres," he said, lowering his rifle. "And your father didn't die the way you think he did." Buried truths, the abandoned mining facility reeked of rust and decay. Caleb led Maya through corridors, lined with equipment that looked more alien than sin. Human, her father's research files spread across a makeshift table in what used to be the foreman's office. "He was trying to prevent this from getting out," Caleb said, pointing to photographs of crystalline structures identical to the one Maya had found. "Not expose it." Maya studied the images, her breath forming clouds in the cold air. Each photograph showed the artifacts in different stages of activation, their light growing brighter until the final image showed nothing but scorched earth. "These things are weapons?" she asked. "Worse, they're triggers." Caleb's voice carried a weight that made her skin crawl. "Each one is connected to a network that spans the entire continent. Someone activates the right sequence, and every major city turns to glass." The artifact in Maya's backpack seemed to grow heavier. She'd been carrying a nuclear bomb without knowing it. "Why should I trust you?" she demanded. "You could be lying." "About everything." Caleb pulled off his tactical vest, revealing a scar that ran from his collarbone to his heart. The tissue was raised and discolored, as if burned from the inside out. "Because one of these things nearly killed me 2 years ago. Your father pulled me out of the blast radius, saved my life." His voice cracked slightly. 3 days later, they executed him for treason. Maya felt the world tilt. Executed? The official report said heart attack, but I saw the injection marks. Caleb moved closer, and she could smell the rain still clinging to his clothes. He was going to destroy the entire network. They couldn't let him. Thunder shook the building, and somewhere in the darkness, metal groaned against metal. Maya realized they weren't alone. "Someone followed us," Caleb whispered, reaching for his weapon. Red laser dots appeared on the walls around them, dancing like deadly fireflies. Maya's hand instinctively moved to the artifact in her pack. "Maya Reeves." A woman's voice echoed through the facility, distorted by a speaker system. "Step away from the soldier and surrender the device." Caleb's eyes met hers, and in that moment, She saw something that terrified her more than the guns surrounding them. Resignation. "There's something else I need to tell you about your father," he said quietly. The first shot shattered the window behind them. The network glass rained down as Maya and Caleb dove behind an overturned mining cart. Bullets sparked off metal, filling the air with the acrid smell of gunpowder and fear. "The maintenance tunnels," Caleb shouted over the gunfire. 30 yards behind you." Maya clutched the artifact against her chest, feeling its pulse synchronize with her heartbeat. The crystal was warm now, almost burning through her jacket. "It's reacting to something," she called out. Caleb's face went white. "The network. They're trying to activate it remotely." A new voice cut through the chaos, cold and familiar. "Stand down, Torres." "That's an order." Maya watched Caleb's entire body tense. She followed his gaze to see a woman in military dress uniform standing in the doorway, flanked by a dozen soldiers. The woman's silver hair was pulled back severely, and her pale eyes held no warmth. "Hello, Maya," the woman said. "I'm General Patricia Vance. Your father spoke of you often. You knew him?" "I trained him, recruited him, loved him." The general's expression didn't change, "and I ordered his death." The words hit Maya like physical blows. The artifact in her arms pulsed brighter, and she could feel power building inside the crystal like a gathering storm. "Alex discovered our contingency plan," Vance continued, stepping closer. "A network designed to prevent global catastrophe by controlled elimination of population centers. He called it genocide. We called it necessary." Caleb stood slowly, his hands raised. "You told me he was selling information to foreign agents." "I told you what you needed to hear to complete your mission." Vance smiled, the expression cutting across her face like a wound. "You've been very useful, Sergeant, leading his daughter directly to the final artifact." Maya felt the betrayal like ice in her veins. She stared at Caleb, seeing the truth written across his anguished features. "You've been working for them this entire time." "Maya, please, let me explain." "He's been feeding us intelligence on your movements for months," Vance said. "Though I suspect his motivations have become compromised." The artifact suddenly flared with blinding light. Through the crystal, Maya could see a web of energy connecting to dozens of points across the continent. Each node pulsed with deadly potential. "The network is fully active," one of the soldiers reported. "We have targeting solutions on all major population centers." Vance pulled out a small device that looked like a detonator. "Your father believed in the inherent goodness of humanity, Maya. He couldn't accept that sometimes survival requires sacrifice." Maya looked at Caleb, seeing the war raging behind his eyes. "How many people?" she whispered. 2 billion, Vance replied. "But 7 billion will live." The general's finger moved toward the trigger. The choice time seemed to freeze as General Vance's finger hovered over the detonator. The artifact in Maya's arms burned like a star being born, its light revealing the true horror of the network, spreading beneath their feet like the nervous system of some sleeping god. 2 seconds, Maya," Vance said. "Give me the artifact, or I activate the sequence." Maya's mind raced through possibilities, each one ending in catastrophe. Through the crystal, she could see energy building at every node, enough power to turn cities into craters. "There's a third option," Caleb said quietly. He stepped between Maya and the soldiers, his scarred chest heaving with each breath. In his hand was a small device Maya had never seen before. "What is that?" Vance demanded. "Insurance," Caleb replied. "Alex gave it to me before he died. A kill switch for the entire network." Maya felt the world shift beneath her feet. "You've had this the whole time?" "He made me promise to only use it if there was no other choice." Caleb's eyes never left hers. If the network was ever activated, this device would overload every node simultaneously, create a feedback loop that would destroy the whole system. And anyone touching an artifact when it happens. Vance added coldly. Alex neglected to mention that part, didn't he? The weight of understanding crashed over Maya like a wave. The device would save billions of lives, but whoever held an artifact during the overload would be vaporized instantly. "Give me the switch," she said, reaching out her hand. "No." Caleb stepped closer, and she could see tears tracking down his scarred cheeks. "I've been lying to you since the moment we met. Let me do this one thing right." "You son of a bitch," Maya whispered, but her voice carried love instead of hate. "Your father would be proud of you," he said softly. Vance raised her weapon. Enough of this touching reunion. Torres, step away from the girl. "General," Caleb said, turning toward his former commander, "with all due respect, go to hell." He lunged toward Maya, not to take the artifact, but to shield her from the soldiers' gunfire. Bullets tore through his body, but his momentum carried him forward. His blood splattered across the crystal, and Maya watched in horror as the artifact began to pulse in rhythm with his failing heartbeat. "The blood," she gasped. "It's activating the artifact." Caleb collapsed against her, his weight driving them both to their knees. The device fell from his fingers, skittering across the floor toward the soldiers. "Pick it up," Vance ordered one of her men. Maya held Caleb as his life drained away, feeling the artifact growing impossibly hot in her lap. Through the crystal, she could see the network reaching critical mass, energy building toward an unstoppable crescendo. "I'm sorry," Caleb whispered, his voice barely audible, "for everything." "I know," Maya replied, pressing her forehead against his. As he died in her arms, the artifact suddenly pulsed with new purpose. Maya realized with crystal clarity what she had to do. "You want to save humanity?" She called out to Vance, rising to her feet with the burning crystal clutched against her chest, "and let me show you what sacrifice really means." Before anyone could stop her, Maya sprinted toward the kill switch device. The light Maya's fingers closed around the kill switch just as Vance's soldiers opened fire. Pain exploded through her shoulder and leg, but she didn't stop moving. The artifact blazed in her other hand like a captured sun, its light revealing the truth her father had died protecting. The network wasn't just a weapon. It was alive. Through the crystal, she could see the consciousness that had been sleeping beneath the earth for millennia, awakened by humanity's touch. It had been trying to communicate, to warn them, but they had misunderstood its signals as aggression. "It's not what you think," Maya gasped, blood running down her arm. "The artifacts aren't weapons. They're a warning system." Vance lowered her gun slightly. "What are you talking about?" "Something's coming," Maya said, her voice growing stronger despite her wounds. "Something that wiped out the civilization that built this network. The artifacts were trying to prepare us, not destroy us." The crystal pulsed, and suddenly Maya could see it all. Ships moving through the void between stars, their hulls black as space itself. A force that had been hunting across the galaxy, consuming worlds and leaving only silence in their wake. "They'll be here in 3 months, Maya whispered. The network was humanity's only chance to fight back. "You're lying," Vance snarled, but doubt flickered in her eyes. Maya felt Caleb's blood on her hands, still warm against the cold metal. Of the kill switch. She thought of her father, of the sacrifice he'd been willing to make, of the billions of lives hanging in the balance. "Maybe I am," she said. "But are you willing to bet the future of humanity on maybe?" The artifact burned. Brighter, and Maya could feel its consciousness reaching out to her, offering her a choice. She could activate the kill switch and destroy the network forever. Or she could trust in something beyond human understanding. "There's another way," she said, looking directly at Vance. "But it requires faith." The general stared at her for a long moment, then slowly holstered her weapon. "What do you need?" Maya smiled through her tears. "Everyone to step back." She pressed both devices against the artifact simultaneously. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then light exploded. Outward, not destroying, but transforming. The network awakened fully, its consciousness merging with the quantum computers that had been built to control it. When the light faded, Maya stood alone in the center of a crystalline chamber that hadn't existed moments before. The walls pulsed with gentle luminescence, and she could feel the network's gratitude like warmth against her skin. It worked, she breathed. Through the crystal walls, she could see the surface world being transformed. The artifacts across the globe had become beacons, creating a defensive grid that would protect Earth from the coming darkness. Humanity would survive, not through genocide, but through unity with something far older and wiser than themselves. Maya closed her eyes and felt her father's presence in the light around her. She thought of Caleb's sacrifice, of the love that had bloomed between them in those final moments, of the choice that had saved not just humanity, but the ancient consciousness that had been waiting so long for someone to listen. Outside, the stars looked down on a world transformed, protected by the network of light that stretched from horizon to horizon. And in the depths of space, something hungry turned its attention elsewhere, seeking easier prey among the silent worlds. Maya opened her eyes and smiled. The end.